This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I discuss many different sports topics. We first start off with, myself. We talk about how I'm coaching American football here in Hungary and what's the differences between what it was like coaching in America, what it's like coaching here. And then we shift our focus to the Super Bowl. We recap what was it like to watch the Kelces and what went on with them. We also talk about the outcome of the game and what is next. We also discuss many new things going on in the news in college football, in the NBA, and college basketball. All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben. That's Josh. And, Josh, doing a podcast where one lives in Europe and one lives in America, it gives us fascinating things to talk about, which I'm sure we'll touch on, but also the fact that it's midnight here and it's, 6 p.m. your
and it's
time.
6 p.m. over here. Yep.
It is the fascinating things and the sacrifices that I make for all you listening. So just remember that. Poor Ben. If you want to leave a like.
Poor Ben, indeed. He is fulfilling 3 coaching positions on a semi-pro team that's not the XFL. So
yeah.
What are you all doing right now, Ben?
It's crazy because obviously, as many of you know, I'm a teacher. So, I'm teaching in the day, like today, teaching and then going and coaching American football.
Not at the school, though. Not
at the school. Yeah. So it's a club organization here in Hungary called the Budapest Cowbells. I think I mentioned a few times. Terrible name. You don't have to go on that. We all know. Trust me, at the club, we all know. But no, yeah, I was asked to be the quarterback's coach. What was it? Back in the end of December, the last day of December, I think it was. And then I accepted it. I said, why not? I wanted to get back in coaching. And I was a quarterback's coach. I'm a quarterback's coach still. But then recently I've just been asked to be a special teams coordinator. And then also I'm going to be calling plays for our second team, which is kind of like a Division III team if you're looking at college, right? So it's like a very low team, but still a lot of the guys that play HFL are semi-pro team. They will play a little bit with us as well. So it's a lot to go on, but honestly, when you only practice twice a week, it's a challenge. But I love it. It's been fun. It's a way to get away from the world around me. And as you know, Josh, my dad was a coach, so that's just natural that I step back into the coaching ring.
It's just what the Bowdens do. So when's Jared going to get a job?
That is the question. Will he ever? Probably not. No, yeah. So it's great, man. I'm enjoying it. It is fascinating to watch. If you ever want to go look up the HFL on YouTube or the Budapest Cowbells, and you can watch some of the games from last year, and it will be fascinating. You'll see the difference. What they do, there's guys with American, like they have an A on the back of their helmet, which means they're like American or they're an import. And you'll know which ones they are without even looking at the helmet because they're just usually quicker.
They stand out that much, huh?
Yeah. So it's very fascinating. Again, I will give you guys updates as we have games. We have a few games in March, and then obviously the season starts then. So yeah, I'll give you guys updates. Maybe we'll break down some. I don't know yet, but yeah, Josh, it is crazy. 6-hour difference here, but it's fun.
But also too with you. Yeah, with all the coaching too, that's probably also why this next episode's coming out a little later than maybe some of the other ones. We had a really big event this weekend with Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski fighting on Saturday, and not really anything else is going on other than that, right?
Yeah. And I think part of it is just like, I think it is funny though, Josh, that people don't realize, and I get this question sometimes for people that listen to our show. They're like, man, like, sometimes, Ben, you look so tired in the episodes. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. It's like usually like 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I get up at 5:30 the next day. So for me, I just want you all to know, leave a like just for my sanity. That's all I'm asking. A like for my sanity, and we go from there. So no.
Also, did you catch the lob right there that I threw you about overlooking the Super Bowl and UFC was the only thing that mattered this weekend?
Yeah, I did, but I just
and you didn't play along.
I didn't play along. No, well, this is the thing. I will say though, the fight, I did watch the highlights of that fight. Incredible fight. And
I've seen some people say if it went
well.
Yeah. The fight, I've seen some people say if it went 6 rounds, Volk might have gotten it, or even that there was an argument that Volkanovski could have even won, I guess, in the regular 5 rounds. But it was a lot of fun watching that. He was so fast and quick, but Islam, was a heavy favorite to come out of Vegas and was the bigger fighter. It's like his natural weight class, and Volkanovski had to move up, so he might have been a little bit overpowered there. And it looked like that anytime they got in a grappling situation. Islam just was the stronger guy. But yeah, Super Bowl, Ben, I know that it was happening at about 2 a.m. your time, so you weren't going to watch it. But what all did you get to see?
Well, I will say that if you noticed Josh putting the post on our reel, is because literally I texted him right before I fell asleep. I said, "Can you please post a reel because I'm not going to be up for this." And that's what Josh did because Josh is a team player, But
that was probably the most interaction we ever got with the reel that we've posted.
We did. I
think we got 4 or 5 comments. Blew
up.
Also,
views views wise, it did too. I think it's one of our higher viewed ones. It's either that.
I got to get an update on that. I'm going to go ahead and give the real listeners here an updated view count on that. But we had a mixed bag. The main thing that I guess everybody's been talking about, everything's kind of been said about the Super Bowl already, so we won't talk too much more about it. But the James Bradbury holding penalty at the end, you're 35-35. And I mean, it was holding, but I didn't think it was enough to call it in that moment. I also didn't think that even if there wasn't any holding, that Juju was going to go and catch that pass because of how much it was overthrown. It kind of sucks that it effectively gave Kansas City the win and we didn't get to see I guess Philly get a chance to rebuttal. But we had a handful of people saying that the Eagles should have just played defense, which I think is valid. Kansas City scored on every second half possession there. Some people said the Eagles got exposed. They had the easiest schedule. Should have never been there. Some other people were calling me out saying the Eagles and the Chiefs were the 2 best teams in the league. And he said Buffalo was actually the best team in the league, even though they only scored 10 points against the Bengals in their home stadium. So we appreciate all comments, whether you agree or disagree. It's fun to get some interaction on the line. And let me check here now that it's all loaded up here. We got 1,379 views on that, Ben. I think that's a baseline record.
Well, it's I know it's that or it's close. I think there's one. I think one of yours is actually higher. Because you're beautiful and you have a.
Was it my visit to Ohio State?
Yeah, that was one of the highlights. No, there's a different one. There's a different one where you do a spiel about something you talk about. I don't remember what it was, but anyways, to answer your question, no, I watched a lot of the highlights. I was able to watch the most of the highlights that were put together. I think my biggest takeaway was that Jalen Hurts deserved that MVP, not Patrick Mahomes. Personally, like if you just look at the game, like I watched that game not biased, and I was like Jalen Hurts was the better quarterback in 98% of that game. That's my opinion.
It is interesting. Patrick Mahomes actually did not top 200 yards, but he did have 3 touchdowns, and he was, using his legs, even with the high ankle sprain, like still making plays, even though he didn't have the most beautiful stat lines. But I agree with you. I think Jalen had a heck of a game. I think he definitely showed that
proved the doubters
wrong. Proved the doubters wrong. Proved that Philly definitely should be giving that guy a contract. I know there's a lot of guys on Philly that are being paid right now already, so I don't know how that salary cap's going to work. But Jalen hopefully stays in Philly for the fans' sake. Really, the only mistake, and for Bryce's sake, really the only mistake, man, was the fumble that he just straight up dropped. And I mean, that's a tough one to overcome, man. They almost had the second defensive touchdown, but that one was ruled an incomplete pass.
I will say
catch and fumble. But
I will say that as a quarterbacks coach right now, and I'm coaching my quarterbacks and stuff, that fumble, it's like if I would have not been coaching right now, I would have probably had a different perspective on it. But think about it's your job to maintain it, but like sometimes those balls are very slippery. And thinking back to my playing days too, and the sweat or whatever, and it can just you bobble it, you can't grab it cleanly. It's just there's always these different things. I'm not giving excuses, but one of my biggest takeaways, actually, Josh, of the whole game really was we had. First off, I want to say this: hats off to the Eagles players. They did not complain. They did not do anything after the game. They showed respect. Jason Kelce, by the way, is one of my favorite players now of all time in football. The way he leads, the way he was telling his teammates, hey, well, this is how we're going to act. Jalen Hurts, 100% professional, classic player. I love him now.
No surprise there. That's been basically Jalen his whole career.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing was that the Eagles did not make it. Everyone was complaining about the field, and the Eagles didn't. They said, hey, they had to play on it too.
Everybody had to play it, and although that was kind of annoying that the NFL has had 2 years to get that field right, and it still was.
But I think this is my thing.
slick or whatever.
And I love what Jason Kelce said, though. He's like, but that's part of football. Like, think about high school, man. Like, how many times that I remember watching games where our teams played in like the worst conditions ever. Like, to me, it's a two-way street, right? Like, NFL should got it right, but it's also like, dude, you're playing football.
Yeah, it's definitely not the reason Philly lost, because like you said, the Chiefs had to play on that as well. And speaking of Jason Kelce too, man, if you guys haven't listened to New Heights, definitely go and check that out. The podcast that Travis and Jason Kelce do. Oh, Ben,
I dropped water on me. Oh well.
Well, I can't see any wet spots, so I guess we're good.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed the Kelce Brothers New Heights podcast this week. Did you get a chance to listen to that?
Oh, I'll be honest.
They talked about everything from the turf to, I guess, the experience that their parents got to have. Jason Kelce's wife did not go into labor, as they were talking about the week before. They discussed the things that they said on the field and what their thoughts were throughout the game, and it was just really cool.
I guess my takeaways was I sent it to a couple of friends. I think Jason Kelce and Travis showed. It's like I'm getting emotional thinking about it, but just this was for their mom. And I was so happy to see this story, because I was so tired of seeing just how sports have become this political game and this thing of who can, show the most that, most this Black Lives Matter, this, and all these different things. And for once, the Super Bowl had a story that everyone loved. Everyone from every walk of life was like, these two guys are playing for their mom and their dad. And no matter who won, Mama Kelce was going to win, and Mama Kelce was going to have something. And you heard Jason say it, like, he couldn't do anything but cry because of what they've went through. And if you know the story of how Travis got kicked off of Cincinnati and Jason fought for him, and again, Jason fought for him again to make the NFL. And that to me is what the NFL and what sports are about, man. Like that. And that's what I take away from the Super Bowl, is that it was more than just the Chiefs beat the Eagles. It was finally having a sports moment, man, where it wasn't politicized. It was just a good, wholesome sports story that we've been missing for such a long time. And it was truly awesome.
Yeah. And like we said too, heck of a game to watch on top of that too. But I don't think like I said, I don't think we have too much to add to Super Bowl, everything that's been said.
What about
the
commercials? What did you think of the commercials this year? Rate them 1 to 10.
See, I watched the first 2 commercial breaks and wasn't really impressed by anything. So at that point, I was actually taking my pee breaks during commercial breaks instead of during the game, like I have in the past, because it's just like, man, it looks like it's going to be another letdown.
I did see there was a Jesus one, which I thought was very interesting. That
he gets us.
Yeah, like that was kind of weird, but I
haven't really been a fan of those ads. They've been playing those over here at least most of the year, and
it was very interesting to me because our director was like, "I'm playing this at the meeting," and I'm like, let's just not just play it because we think this is what it means." But that's for another day. That's for another podcast of some sort. But Josh, what else we got on the docket?
Man, dude. So staying on topic with the NFL, Derek Carr finally released by the Raiders.
Yep.
There's a handful of teams, I guess you could make an argument for that could sign him. The Jets are definitely in that mix. The Saints, I think, are in that mix. If the Packers lose Aaron Rodgers, perhaps Derek Carr is in the mix over there, or maybe they go the Jordan Love route, whatever. But it seems like New Orleans is the one that everybody's hammering down just because of all the weapons that they have over there, and you get a serviceable quarterback over there, maybe the offense just is much more significantly run. What would you, I guess, predict Derek Carr's, future to look like right now?
I have two locations, 1A and 1B, right? I think 1A is the Saints. I mean, you have Chris Olave. If you have a healthy Michael Thomas, you have some good young tight ends, Alvin Kamara. You have some of these young, decent offensive line. I don't think a great offensive line, but a pretty good offensive line. I think that the Saints are a team that I think it fits him at his stage in his career, but I also could see him going to, and the 1B for me would be the Jets. I could see them going, hey, we're going to get you on a 2-year rental. We'll sign you to a 2-year deal with maybe like a player option, or, something like that. And you put him in there, and maybe you still draft a quarterback of some sort, and you have that, have a guy that can be behind Derek Carr. And the only other option I thought was maybe the Colts. The Colts maybe getting Derek Carr and then drafting either
Colts are interesting.
Yeah.
Because they got a top 5 pick.
They get Derek Carr, and then maybe they draft Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I would love them to draft CJ Stroud, because I think CJ Stroud in a dome could be phenomenal in a dome. And so either way, I think Derek Carr, so really 1A for me is New Orleans, and 1B would be either New York or Indy, and they would kind of use him as a kind of supplemental quarterback until they get their guy.
Interesting. Yeah, it's always tough to predict these things, and there might be a team that we're not even thinking about, like maybe Tampa Bay.
No, I think they're sold on that. I think they're sold on what's his face,
Kyle Trask.
They've all the head coaches come out, the GMs come out, and they've really liked Kyle Trask. So that's what I've been hearing. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, but we'll have to see. For
sure, yeah, that's definitely going to be one of the, I guess, the big NFL offseason discussions, or I guess stories to follow. And also on the topic of football and I guess the NFL, Todd Monken, former Georgia offensive coordinator, takes the Baltimore Ravens job.
Yeah.
So before we talk about, I guess, the Georgia aftermath, let's discuss Todd Monken running an offense with possibly Lamar Jackson at quarterback and not as many weapons as he had at Georgia. What do you think this looks like? We've seen Todd as a coordinator, I believe, at Tampa Bay with Jameis Winston. We've seen him as a coordinator with Freddie Kitchens and the Browns and Baker Mayfield. I was rather unimpressed, but I mean, the guy definitely looked like he was a little better than the college game with I guess, what he got out of Stetson Bennett in Georgia. So he's back in the league, possibly going to be running an offense with Lamar Jackson. What's your thoughts on this hire for Baltimore and this job for Todd?
I think Baltimore better lock up Lamar, because I don't know what he's going to be able to do with not Lamar with those weapons. I mean, he has J.K. Dobbins, and that's about it. I mean, if you think about it, right?
Pretty much. I think it was noted too that Todd was not guaranteed Lamar Jackson by the Ravens,
which I thought that was very fascinating.
And Todd Monken still took the job.
Yeah.
So he's risking, or I guess cool, with running an offense with Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley at quarterback.
Just stop. I'm gonna,
dude. Stop. Every time you look up Tyler Huntley on Wikipedia, it's gonna say one-time Pro Bowler.
Oh gosh, just stop. I could have been a Pro Bowler.
But yes, continue. Had to throw that out there.
I think that's just what's interesting. To be honest, it's the Ravens, and as much as people say, well, they've won a Super Bowl and all that, but I'm like, yeah, you're right. But let's be honest, they're just the Browns. They were basically the Browns before. They've just basically been the Browns. They just have no salary cap. They don't want to spend money. They are the Browns up until like lately, when the Browns spend too much money. So I think in general, I think that it's a good job for Todd. I think getting back in the league, I think college was almost too easy for him. I hate to say that, but I feel like it was for him.
I feel like that too, dude.
Easy. And I think,
like, imagine if he was actually at a school that cared about offense a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Man. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Monken and that job.
Yeah. And then I guess moving over to Georgia, they went with perhaps, I guess, the safe route with promoting Mike Bobo, who's actually been the offensive coordinator before. Offense was kind of average under him in the first stint. They usually average. They're usually ranked about around the 50s in offense. Yeah. But yeah, I love the name too, Bobo. It's like, this guy sounds like he could be a clown, but I don't know. It's obviously a guy that Kirby Smart trusts. Which is a guy that's familiar with the system. It's kind of like, has the same feel, I guess, as Nick Saban hiring Kevin Steele as his defensive coordinator. It's a guy that's been there before and that the coach trusts. So it's nothing that's, I guess, going to, blow anybody out of the water, but it's a safe hire, I think.
No, I agree. I think it's a safe, quick hire that, he doesn't have to go searching everything, and you just hire now a lower offensive quality coach and go from there.
Yeah. Going to be interesting to see, I guess, the development of Georgia offensively too, with Bobo and then a new quarterback, and I guess just everything that comes with that. Sticking on the college scene, Ben, we got news today that Ohio State has canceled its 2024 and 25 games with Washington. That's also coincidentally the year that USC and UCLA will be coming to the Pac-12.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like Ohio State just did not want their schedule to be too loaded with the possibility of having to play not only those two schools, but Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State, and I guess you throw Washington in there. And I mean, that's tough for any program to be able to go through. Would you guess that's why these games are being canceled?
No, I maybe, but I think I have a better one. I've been hearing
I do know it was initiated by Ohio State, and Washington's disappointed about it. So that's why I kind of thought that. But yeah, what are you thinking?
Well, I've heard some different things from different insiders around Ohio State that part of it too is because of the unknowingness if Washington's going to join the Big Ten. Because there's a lot of rumors out there that Washington is trying to join the Big Ten. So in reality, they still might be playing them anyways. And I think partly, I mean, again, it could be what you said. It could be this, I think, or in general, do they think Washington's program is going the way it is, or would it just be like one of those easy games where they're spending way too much money to travel there for a game that is going to be too easy, right? Like I think there's a lot of unknowingness of what Washington's going to be. And I think, but again, I think it could be they didn't want a loaded schedule, but I also think it could be what if Washington moves to the Big Ten? Now they're forced to already have to cancel anyway. So I think there's a lot of different things with that. I think it's very interesting. Weird, but interesting, I guess, at the same time. Interesting to see who they replace it with. Most likely be probably a mid-major is usually what happens. But
I was going to say, if they replaced it because Washington might become a conference game, then would you think that they would try to add on someone of similar caliber? Maybe. You think they would try to throw on like a Bowling Green or a Buffalo?
I could see like them do like a Cincinnati, right? Local, but in a big conference, but local. You know, because they'll be in the Big 12 at that point, or you know, some team like that, right? Where it's a bigger team, but it's kind of local in the sense you don't have to travel really a lot. Because if it's Cincinnati, you just can stay in Columbus and then just travel. But yeah, so there's that, which is very interesting, and yeah, I know there's more college football news than just that, though.
There is. There's also been, I guess, discussion of how once USC and UCLA come over, it looks like the SEC is going to go with the 3 permanent rival route, and then you play like half of the schools one year, and then the other half of them the next year, and you alternate with those. If the Big Ten goes that route, who would you want Ohio State's 3 permanent rivals to be?
Oh, well, Michigan for sure. Like obviously,
Michigan's got to be in there.
If they don't,
and
I
think Penn State has to be as well.
Penn State could be an iffy one, right? I think Penn State should be. I don't know if they'll do that. I think the other one would be USC. I think USC would be a permanent one because the reason is because you go back in history, USC and Ohio State, as well as UCLA. I mean, either one of those could be because you look back at the old Rose Bowls, all those things at Ohio State, USC, right? The only one that could be switched that I think that it could be switched to was if you did an Ohio State and then maybe like an easier game, so like Ohio State, Indiana, right? Or Ohio State, Wisconsin, or Ohio State, Michigan State, right? Something that is going to be competitive, but is maybe a local rivalry rather than
in the moment, it sounds like a tough 3 game right there with having to play Michigan, Penn State, and USC. I wonder what Ohio State would think about that.
I think that means that they would just. I mean, I think they would probably do less tougher games out of conference because you're already going to have a great college football playoff resume when you have those 3 games. Mm-hmm. But then I think, because I think then they're like, okay, well, maybe, and I think the Big Ten would try to make it to where it's more even. So they would get some easier Big Ten games as along with maybe some other games as well.
Maybe, yeah. Good stuff for sure. And like you said, there's other things happening in college football, like Florida and Ron DeSantis, governor, signed a bill for NIL. It's going to make it a lot.
By the way, in my opinion, as an Ohio resident, or used to be a Ohio resident, still think Ron DeSantis is the best governor in all of
running
America.
Laps around the others, especially our governor here in Ohio,
Governor DeWine.
Yeah, that guy.
There's a reason why he has wine in his last name. That's all I'm going to say.
Also, if y'all aren't from Ohio, check out what's happening in New Palestine, Ohio, because not really a lot of people are talking about that.
No, it's scary.
A couple hours away from where I'm at, and yeah. But
this is a sports podcast. If Josh doesn't show up next week, something happened.
If Josh didn't show up, yeah, something happened in it. New Palestine, you can kind of put 2 and 2 together. But back to Ron DeSantis and the great work he's doing in Florida.
A new bill has been passed, Ben, that's going to allow coaches in Florida to help facilitate NIL deals.
Oh gosh, this is just
going to make it so much easier.
It's also going to be annoying, for Florida. For every other freaking school in the U.S., it's just going to be awful.
But like, think about it. This is kind of how it should be anyway. Like, coaches right now are at the mercy of boosters and outsiders doing like a lot of the recruiting. Like, that's why we have like the Jalen Rashada debacle and I guess some of these other kids that aren't really getting the NIL promises. And maybe at the end of the day too, these coaches don't even want these players, but these guys that are like, just have a lot of money and are boosters and want their team to do good are in their mind doing what they think is helping the school. But now the coaches can have a little bit more communication with how this is going. And I think that this is, I mean, it's not really NIL either if coaches are getting involved, but I think if it's going to be this way, like coaches should have a little bit of a say in it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I just I just want to be the NCAA just to like the NCAA and everybody just can we just find a reason, like find something to agree on and just stick with it instead of it changing all the time? It's crazy to me.
It's gonna be interesting if it ends up changing state to state like that too.
Oh, that's gonna be awful.
All the Florida schools, like we know how competitive Florida State and Miami are in the college football scene. Or at least they try to be. Like they put in the effort. It doesn't always come out.
Let's be honest. I guess it doesn't come out very often recently. So
it's going to be easier for them though at the end of the day. Like,
yeah, it'll be hard to recruit Florida now. It'll be a lot harder to recruit if you're not in Florida. It'd be a lot harder to recruit Florida. Unless you're Ohio State, Alabama, or Georgia. I think those are the only three schools that can go into Florida and still grab a guy, even with all that extra help.
Right. I mean, we've seen Nick Saban say that they're not money focused. They are development focused. And based on the way that Ohio State has been with NIL and its, I guess, lack of care from Gene Smith, they think that they're going to go on just coaching and development and a program, I guess, greatness too. So
all I will say is, compared to Ohio State and Florida, I know what fan base I would rather be a part of. I'm just saying.
You do?
It's of course Ohio State. No, I think in general it is crazy, and I think another crazy thing too is just the coaching carousel that's going on in college football right now.
It's concerning to go, yeah.
Like Tommy Rees leaving, and oh, by the way, once he left, the offensive line coach retired, which then shows me that the offensive line coach never stayed for Marcus Freeman. He only stayed for Tommy Rees, which I again think is just they're not helping Marcus Freeman in Notre Dame. They're not at all. Like they're
and Notre Dame too. Right now, it looks like they're going to be promoting their offensive line or not offensive line, tight ends coach to offensive coordinator. Very conservative approach for a program that most would say is a blue blood.
That is true.
Yeah, like Irish expected to tab their tight ends coach. I'll give you all a name to go with that too. Gerard Parker as offensive coordinator. That's the rumor right now. So they've had talks with Colin Klein from Kansas State. They've had talks with Andy Ludwig from Utah.
Also, Klein is really a good name to be listening to because people don't realize he was a Heisman finalist for Kansas State back in 2010.
Yeah, like when they would talk about him on TV, I was like, oh shoot, he's in coaching now. Yeah. That's cool.
And he's only like 35 or something like that. Like, he's super young.
Yeah. Yeah, very young dude. I guess if you didn't get to watch Colin Klein, he kind of played like a mixture of Tim Tebow and Daniel Jones,
exactly.
I'd say.
Yeah, he was a freak.
Big,
he was a
white,
freak
tough kid that could run.
Freak athlete.
Had some athleticism to him. Yeah, for sure.
Never made it in the NFL. I think he only played like 2 seasons in the NFL or something like that. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever got to the NFL or if he was drafted or got signed. Like usually, if you're a Heisman candidate, that can give you a little bit.
I like the voice crack there.
I was hoping you didn't notice, but yeah.
I'm a teacher. Nothing passes me.
Nothing passes you. You catch it all. Yeah. Let's see if Colin Klein. Okay, he was asked to work out with the tight ends at the NFL scouting combine. Was invited to Texans rookie minicamp for a tryout, but was not offered a contract.
That's crazy.
And then that was the end of his NFL stint. Yep.
That is nuts.
He played a little bit in the CFL.
Not the HFL, not in the Hungarian Football League. Dang it.
Nah, I guess they missed out on him then.
Yeah, the Cowbells didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, didn't try hard enough.
No, but it is.
Are they trying hard enough now?
I mean, we don't have a tight end. We just need a tight end. We have no tight ends, literally, that I think right now.
Well, it looks like Colin Klein has some experience at tight end.
We should get him.
Get him out of coaching, get him back to playing.
Hey, there are actually coaches that do play in this league. So, that just that happens. But yeah, man, it's crazy what's going on in college football and the NFL and everything going on. But is there any other news worthy of our time today on the podcast?
It looks like that is pretty much everything that we wrote down for football, at least. And since this is a sports show and not a football show, and the NFL season is over,
we get many comments that people think we're a football show. We're not.
Oh, you guys think we're done talking football? The XFL is about to come underway now.
This is the thing: is that people? It's so funny that people think that then they don't realize the name of our podcast is the Baseline Podcast. It's basketball, like
the baseline.
It doesn't. Whatever.
And I didn't have a say in that name, but I think Ben would have probably started because of his background in coaching basketball.
It was,
and that was my guess.
And that's just what I went with because I thought.
And when we were in our Resound Radio days, we went with the full court press, which is another basketball term that played into, I guess, you being a SA and Jamie, our other co-host, playing.
Josh doesn't have a say in names. He just doesn't, I guess.
Well, I did get to contribute to full court press. I think I actually came up with that one.
Now Trey Barnes came up with a lot of our segments. We've realized very shortly. Hats off to you, Trey. We love you.
Yes, but that concludes football discussion this week, Ben. Spring training is underway.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball season is fast approaching us. Pitchers and catchers are going at it right now in camp.
I can tell you one thing I'm looking forward to.
What?
The Reds are going to suck.
Looking forward to the Reds sucking. All right. Well, that kind of leads me into what I was, I guess, going to say is let's get some preseason
I can give you that.
Preview / thoughts. We've seen the off season that both teams have done. So I guess as we're going to camp, what would you hope to see from the Reds this year? Obviously, a World Series isn't going to happen.
No, it's not.
But maybe a 70-win season, maybe young players to develop strongly. What would you hope that the Reds, I guess, are able to accomplish this year?
I hope that Hunter Green can stay healthy and have another great year. I mean, people don't realize he threw over 300 pitches.
And I hope this as well. Not even as a Reds fan. I hope Hunter Green can have a good career.
Like he threw over 300 pitches of 100 miles per hour. The next closest was 88. Just put that in perspective.
I want to see this kid have a successful career.
He had a rough year last year. But they also have Nick Lodolo. They have I forget his other name, but they're Ashcroft. So they have 3 young guys that are in the rotation. You have I don't know if he'll start. He'll probably start in AAA. But De La Cruz, he is going to be a freak. He's 6'7". He's a shortstop at 6'7". A lot of like the Pirates have in what's his face? What's the Pirates guy's name?
O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah. So the Pirates have someone. The Reds have someone as well. This is my goal for the Reds. One, if our manager, I slipped my mind who it is. What's his name? But if that just shows you how much things he's done the time he's been there. But if he doesn't do well, stop extending him. Like just get rid of him. Like clean house. And what I mean by that, the only positive thing that can happen this year is you finish above the Pirates, which I think is possible. I really do think it's possible to finish above the Pirates. And the second thing would be is if you can get to 75 wins. Like if you can get to 75 wins,
75 wins and 4th place in the NL Central.
I will take it, right? 75 wins, just don't lose 100 games. People don't realize the Reds lost 100 games for only the second time since the beginning of this club. The club's over.
And they were one of the first baseball teams ever.
They were the first. They were the 150 years old. Or something like that. And 2 seasons, they've had 100 losses. 2 seasons.
That's
think
crazy.
about that. It's mind-boggling. And the history that's in the Reds, and that's what I think as a Reds fan, and Josh knows this. That's why I've been so frustrated because you look at the history of the Reds in the 70s.
The Red Machine, dude.
70s, all through the 70s, part of the 80s. Yeah, part of the 80s. And in the 90s, you had a few good years. And then even when from 2010 to about 2015, you had a really good Red team that would make the playoffs. And you had Joey Votto at the edge. Now you have Joey Votto, who, how healthy is he? Is he going to play? I mean, he was over 300 batting average his whole career until last year when he struggled, and now it's dropped. His career batting average dropped below 300.
Hate to see
for me,
it.
A guy who is the heart and soul of the Reds, and I love Joey Votto. And is he worth $37 million? We're paying him? No, but the thing I say is this: I just want to see the Reds make progress. Like, last year was the crappiest year I've ever had to watch the Reds. Like, it was just awful.
Yeah,
like,
if it got worse this year than last year, then something's not going.
The thing is,
right.
and I will say this: the one thing Reds do have going for them, they have one of the best farm systems now because of all the guys they've traded. They've loaded up on the farm system, and again, they've got some. Will Myers, a veteran guy who he's going to come in, play left field. Like, a lot of these guys are going to come in. No Aristides Aquino anymore. He went to Japan for some reason, but we won't have him. You'll still have Joey Votto. You have Jonathan India. Hopefully he can bounce back from injury plague season. You have a decent bullpen, not a great bullpen, a decent bullpen. You have Stevenson, who's probably one of the best young catchers when he's healthy. Again, a lot of if healthy. But again,
yeah.
I just think this Reds team has potential to be great. But the issue is I don't trust the management, and I haven't for a while. I haven't trusted ownership. I haven't trusted general managers. I haven't trusted the management on the field. Unless that stuff starts changing, I don't see any positive from that. So for me, just those are the two things. I would love to see the Reds win 75 games. And if our whole management organization is not working out, make some changes. That's what I got. That was a lot to say, but I tried.
It was a lot, but I mean, now we know how you really feel.
They still suck. I'm going to keep saying that until they stop. Suck.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let me go ahead, and I think I'll have a little bit more of briefer thoughts on my Cleveland Indians, but
it's the Guardians, Josh. It's the Guardians.
I'm sorry. Not really, though. But in Cleveland, we are coming off of first place in the AL Central Division, which historically, as of the last 20 years, I think is the easiest division to win in baseball. So I would hope
for sure,
the majority of our roster coming back and a couple small pieces added in, that we can repeat that success. I think last year, I picked the White Sox to not only win the division, but make it all the way to the World Series too. And I think they underachieved. So I'm not taking the White Sox lightly. With a fully healthy White Sox team, I think could still be a problem this year. So I see us going at it with them for the win in the division, but I hope ultimately we can repeat as Central champs. And I also hope that we can hit more home runs this season. The addition of Josh Bell should help that, but I think they really need to go and get like another big bat, and they didn't do that. So that means that Josh Naylor needs to either be healthy and hit 30 home runs himself, or one of these other guys that's mostly, I guess, just been hitting for batting average, like an Oscar Gonzalez, or maybe even Jose Ramirez is this guy, but to add a little bit more home runs to his total, but get one of them over 30. We saw it with the Yankees in the division series last year. They can get 2 runs with 1 swing of the bat, and we can get 2 runs with 6 singles, basically, is how it works. And in baseball, it's tough to get 6 singles in an inning. So
that's true.
We really need that guy. If you love old, classic small ball, like Cleveland's a really fun team to watch. As young as they were last year, I think youngest roster in the league. So a lot of those guys hopefully are taking steps forward in their development this year too. And a lot of the pitching is back. I think that a Zach Plesac trade might be possibly happening just to get, I guess, one guy or another guy out of the rotation that either is about to become a free agent or just, I guess, has had like some, I guess, quote unquote character concerns. I'm a Zach Plesac guy, but that's, I guess, some buzz that I've seen on Twitter that Plesac might be on the move, but still bring back a solid bullpen. So I guess my expectations for Cleveland, get close to 100 wins, definitely win the AL Central, hit a little bit more home runs, and hopefully that leads to us being able to win a division series, because we've been to a lot of division series lately, Ben, and we've been running into teams like the Astros and the Yankees and getting out hit. Our pitching has always been great, but our runs are lacking. So we need to see a more impressive offense out of Cleveland this year. That's kind of, I guess, a little wrap right there of my thoughts.
Also didn't say that I also want the Reds to win the Ohio Cup. That's the other thing I forgot to say.
Win the Ohio Cup.
So if you don't remember,
yeah, we split the Ohio Cup last year, right?
You don't remember, Josh was going to like win the little like.
We bet 20.
Yeah, and end up tying, and no one got anything because Josh.
It was a push. Yep.
Because Josh just he jinxed everything. So,
yeah, I got excited. I think they won the first two, and I was like, I'm a catch in my bet, and then that's Cincinnati won the next two.
It's just what happens. Don't mess with the Reds. But yeah, man, that's what's going on in baseball. Obviously, we'll talk more baseball as the
closer to baseball season when we see like more spring training news happening and stuff. We'll give you guys some preseason predictions like we did last year. Maybe mix that up with some NFL draft talk. But so that's about everything I had for baseball right now, Ben.
Yep.
And we can move to the basketball scene as well and discuss the possibility of the Cleveland Cavaliers buying out Kevin Love.
Yeah.
That's something that I read today that they're considering. So a free agent Kevin Love might be an interesting piece for a possible contender to add to their team. But also, why do you think the Cavs would make this move now? I said before the show when we were talking that maybe it was because they were trying to trade him and they couldn't find like a suitor, so they're just going to buy him out and be done with him. But maybe it's something else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they were going to try to trade him. I really do believe Colby Altman when he says that was the plan was to So basically, if you don't know what happened, Love's been battling with some injuries this season, and then in January he re-aggravated his shooting hand, which, as you know, playing basketball, it's kind of important, and his numbers have been down. And then Dean Wade got healthy, and if you guys don't know, Dean Wade is not a guy that's going to score a lot, but he's a great defender. He can stretch the floor. He's a great rebounder, and like a younger version of Kevin Love, but not as potent as Kevin Love. So kind of in that sense. So he kind of took Love's minutes. Love hasn't seen the floor since like January 26th or something like that. Like the last 12 games he hasn't played. He's been a great sport, and I think Love, I guess, went into the office, I guess, yesterday or today and was talking with him about it. And I understand it. And I get it. He wants to play. He still thinks he has a few years left. But again, I don't think this had anything to do with they couldn't find a trade. I think this is just out of respect for Kevin Love. I mean, this man has given everything to Cleveland through the thick and thin. He's been there for 9 years, more than he was with the Timberwolves. He's been here for 9 years. He won a championship with Cleveland. And he went through the real down hit years when LeBron left the second time, and he stuck it out. He signed an extension, said, I want to be a part of Cleveland. And I think part of it too is Colby Altman's looking like, if we're not playing a guy that's making $31 million, we should probably try to find a way to also cut on that. But I think it's more of a respect thing, to be honest with you, than it was, they brought Danny Green in, kind of a nostalgic thing, but then this is more, I feel like, with Kevin Love as a way of saying, hey, we respect you. I hope that maybe Kevin Love has that in return and decides not to go to an Eastern team, maybe goes out West. But I doubt it. I have a feeling he's going to go somewhere East. But yeah, you never know where he's going to end up. But yeah, those are my thoughts, and I think that's the real reason behind it.
Gotcha.
And I don't think I don't think it changes the Cavs at all. I think they're going to be the same Cavs they've been. If you don't know, they were on like a 7-game win streak until yesterday. So I think they're going to be fine without him. I don't think it's going to be a big difference.
Yeah, we've seen Kevin Love, I guess, tough it out during the tough times. When Cleveland was a lottery team, and then there was a little bit of question of if he wanted to be a part of the team or not, because there was like a little bit of, I guess, attitude issues from him, like he was fighting with coaches and players, it seemed like, and then they decided that he's going to stick around, and now he's I guess lived to see Cleveland be successful. But if this is the end of the road for Kevin Love, I guess. Thank you for all the memories. Thank you for helping put together a
this one's
championship
tough.
run for Cleveland.
This one's tougher than
is Kevin
I
Love the only guy left from that
2000
14 to 17 run that Cleveland had?
Yep.
And the team is so young now. Dang.
And it's tough. This is like a tough one for me. Like I didn't think I would be, but Kevin Love just like he bonded with everyone. Like everyone loved him in Cleveland, and I do think that I kind of want the Cavs to win a championship just so he can have that ring to say like, hey, I did this without LeBron and Kyrie, right? Like I kind of want the Cavs to win a ring this year just so he can have one on that. But yeah, so that's what I think on that. And yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of winning streaks, Ben, would you have any guess to which Ohio basketball team has a 6-game losing streak?
Yeah, it's Ohio State because they suck. Freaking
It's
awful.
Ohio State, and we've talked about how bad the
dude.
team has
So
been, but
bad.
any thoughts on the 21-point loss to Michigan State, where they
Yes.
scored only 41 points?
Yes, I realized that any freaking high school team could have shot better in that first half than Ohio State did. They shot 5 for 26.
That is tough,
right?
man.
This is what I'll say, man. I've said this to my dad. I've said this to a couple people. The thing that bothers me about this Ohio State team is that we gave Holtman an extension last year. They gave him a 4-year extension or whatever it was, and he hadn't proved anything. If you look at the record, yeah, like there's this graphic that came up yesterday, and it said coaches that have made the most consecutive appearances, and it was with him and Butler, so it counts with these Butler. But it was 7 straight appearances at the tournament. I'm like, yeah, and the fact that he never gets past the second round doesn't help. So for me, it's frustrating because you have Senzenball, who's going to be gone after this year. I mean, he's going to be a lottery pick.
Sucks, yeah. You get a kid like that, and
it's so good.
And
the thing is, they're not going to make the NIT. They're not going to make any of the other posting tournaments. They're not even going to get to 500. This is the worst season I've seen. Like Thad Matta, his last 2 years had rough years, but at least I was like, you know what, they're competitive. When I watch this team right now, it's like, this isn't Ohio State basketball. I know Ohio State basketball is not Ohio State's not a basketball school, but we expect to be in the top 8 of the Big Ten, you know, competing and making the tournament. Someone posted like a picture of Greg Oden and Mike Conley and said, don't we all wish we were back there in those days? And it's true. I remember those days. It was some epic games, and it's real sad to see Ohio State basketball like this because you have a chance, you have a really good class coming in. What do you do with Holtman? Do you fire him, lose all this class that you have coming in? Do you keep him
and buy the buyout
and get coaches and get fans mad at you? There's a chance you might land Bronny James, and like all of these things can happen, and yet you can't beat Michigan State. You can't beat Minnesota, the worst team in the Big Ten. You can't meet some of these teams where you look at Northwestern, and they've now just beat 2 top 15 ranked teams, including the number 1 team in Purdue.
Absolutely,
back-to-back games. So who would have thought, if I would have told you at the beginning of the year, that Northwestern would have a better basketball program than Ohio State? And then if you look at the women's side, they were 19-0, looking like a number 1 team in the nation, and now they're 21-5. I think they're 2-5 in their last 7 games, and they're also now struggling. And so it's tough to watch. But at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control, and I think what Holtman needs to do is, I think, reevaluate things in the offseason if he does have the job. And, you know, you try to win the rest of your games, at least get to 500, maybe make a run in the Big Ten tournament, maybe get an NIT berth or a CBT or whatever these other ones are, you know, and give a chance. But that's my thoughts. It's sad to see, but it happens.
So Ohio State plays at Iowa tonight, with a chance to break the streak, and they end the season with games at Purdue, and then home games with Penn State, Illinois, Maryland, and then last game of the season at Michigan State.
I'll be honest with you. They're going to win 2 of those games.
I was going to ask, how many of those games you think they win? And
they'll beat. I think they'll get redemption against Michigan State. I think they might beat Michigan State because I think Michigan State's kind of up and down. And then, what was the other one? Did you say it was Minnesota? We got right.
No. So Iowa tonight, then Purdue, Penn State, Illinois, and Maryland, Michigan State.
Yeah. Penn State. I think it's gonna be Penn State and Michigan State. Those are the 2 wins.
And if anybody wants to watch that Penn State game, you can get tickets as low as $5 right now.
Dude, I wouldn't even go for free. I would. You'd have to pay me to go.
You'd have to pay Ben to go. But we can't pick on the Buckeyes and not pick on my Tar Heels a little bit after that. We've had some tough games lately too. I thought that we put the past behind us, but they were favored with in a game against Miami, game at home. Miami's a a top 25 team, Ben, and they couldn't get it done in that one. I got to check to get some updated North Carolina numbers here for you, because it's tough to watch. The expectation this season was that they were preseason number one, obviously, and after the run they made in the tournament last year and only losing Brady Manick, and you get all these guys coming back, Caleb Love, Armando Bacot, Leaky Black comes back, uses his COVID year, and RJ Davis stays. Like, all these guys that could have gone to the league, they come back to, I guess, make the run. Like, it sounded like very, I guess, if you were to write a script, this is how it would go. It sounded similarly to, I guess, how the 2017 season went for North Carolina, with losing on the buzzer beater to Villanova in the championship before, and then you get to, I guess, the next season, they redeem themselves, and it's just not been the case. I think North Carolina now has 10 losses, and I can't get internet to load a schedule right now, so I can't continue to talk.
It's okay.
Now we're on dead time. I tried to buy time. Now I gotta try again here. So let's see.
All I know is I feel like maybe the Tar Heels.
North Carolina is 16-10. 16-10, 8-7 in the ACC. That puts them.
Is there a chance we see Josh and I very depressed during March Madness with neither of our teams
with no team to watch? Who would have thought that?
I will be pulling for an Ohio team. Whatever, if Isaiah won't make, I'll be pulling for an Ohio team. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah. So in the last 5 games, Ben, a loss to Pitt by 1 point at home. You lose to Duke in the first of 2 games with the biggest college basketball rivalry in the sport. You lose to Wake Forest. Then you get a 20-point win over Clemson. Then you lose to Miami by 8. You're finishing the season out with NC State, Notre Dame, Virginia, and Florida State. At least for February. And then you got the 1 game against Duke at home.
All I'll say is that
I'm not sure how many of those games we win, to be honest.
All I'll say is that below, I want you guys to comment if we should have a bracket challenge. Let us know in the comments, because we all know Ben's going to win, because lately I've just been whooping Josh in every competition. I'm just saying. It's just facts. It's just facts.
And then also make a prediction of, will North Carolina or Ohio State win more games to end the season? I think Ohio State's got 6 more games. North Carolina has 5 more games. So who has the higher win percentage in these last games?
Oh, well, it's not going to be Ohio State at all. So, Josh, is there anything else you would like to talk about in today's lovely podcast? Just coming out. I think
we've covered everything we wanted.
Yeah. We're just coming out on a weekend. So for all of you that are listening, you're like, wait a minute, they don't play Iowa tonight. They lost to Iowa. Yes, we know. And
we will know too.
Yes, we
but not at this moment. We're 2 hours before tip-off right now.
Which is 2 hours before I wake up. Interesting enough is that we have really enjoyed doing this podcast. I said, I think a couple weeks ago, like, Josh and I have been doing this for a year together. And we have not had a show live yet together in the same continent, let alone the same facility. So if you would like to see that, encourage us, because my wife and I will be going to America. So if you would like to see that, there is a chance. Oh, are you there? Yep, you're there. Okay. I got this weird glitch. And now it's kind of scared me. No, that scared me. But no, so we are going to America. So if you'd like to let us know, like, what you want us to talk about, if it's possible. I know we'll be in Ohio for a little bit, so maybe there's a chance we'll get 1 episode in. And I do know that Jared will be filling in for me, possibly, for the other ones I'll not be able to make it. But let us know. What do you think about that, Josh? You like that idea? Finally be in the same...
A live in-person podcast? Man.
That'd be like something new. We've never done that before.
Never done it.
We don't even know how to do it. Like, we don't. We don't even know how to do it anymore. We don't have equipment like at Cedarville, right?
I guess we would have to still, have 2 screens like this, and just we're zooming in different, in the same room, but on 2 different screens.
We could do that. Yeah, we could do that.
Or if we have the capability, connect 2 mics to, the same.
I do have I could bring something to do with that. But we'll figure that out. That's not you don't care about this. You're listening to a podcast. Who cares? But no, anyways, we do want to thank you. We do want to say here at the end, I wanted to say this at the beginning of the episode, but we'll say this at the end. Our prayers are out there to Michigan State. I know if you guys heard the mass shooting, the mass shooting that happened, I think it was there, as well as at our alma mater at Cedarville, there was a stabbing that went on a few days ago or so now. So our prayers do go out there. Again, like, give them peace. Like, don't be doing anything stupid, guys. Like, don't say anything. Like, people are dealing with it in the way they are. So that's just from Josh and I to you all. So thank you so much for listening this week. Hope you enjoyed it. It was definitely the first time in a very long time that we've done more than 2 sports. We did like 4. So we did good. We did good. So give us a nice thumbs up right there. Like, comment if you're watching this video, subscribe to the channel, see all of our other videos. You can actually go back and see some of the videos that I've done with my brother when we had a podcast, which was interesting. So there's a lot of fun things over there. So go check it out, and it's really enjoyable. And if you're on Spotify, go ahead and give us a rating. Rate who has the better beard. We're going to go with beard this time. If you think I have
instead
a better
of
beard,
hair.
If you think I have a better beard, comment below in the YouTube video that I have a better beard, but then also give us a 5-star.
This is one I don't think I'll win.
Dude, this is just luscious. Okay, this is luscious.
Definitely more full than mine.
I didn't think I would ever use luscious in a podcast episode, but here we are. But anyways, we do want to thank you so much for listening, for watching, for tuning in. We hope you guys have a great weekend, a great next week as well. And remember to go watch some sports, whether that's some old football games you want to watch, the old like highlight reels, or you want to watch some basketball, some I don't know what else, tennis, maybe golf. There's a few sports going on, hockey. So if you want to watch that, go check it out. Go have some fun with family and friends, and be safe. And until next time, we'll see ya.